Hello everybody and welcome to That's Football. We've had the first Premier League round of fixtures post-World Cup, and what have we learnt? Some might say not a lot. Arsenal won, Man City won, Liverpool won, United won, Newcastle won. Spurs did draw, but I think the big headline for me is, can Arsenal stop Man City? Now that in itself is quite an interesting statement when you consider that Arsenal are currently 5 points ahead of Man City, and 5 points is significant, but I predicted that Man City will win this title. I've never changed my mind on it. And that in no way is meant to undermine what Arsenal have done. 13 wins, 1 draw and 1 loss is absolutely incredible. There is no other way of saying it. But I still think that this Man City side is... It's going to take a huge effort from Arsenal to stop Man City, even though technically, yes, Man City are currently behind in the league race by 5 points. I still think if Arsenal had a 10-point gap, I'd still put Man City as favourite. I don't know about anybody else. They're just so relentless, and I think the only way that Arsenal can win this is to keep doing what they've done. 15 games, 13 wins. If they can do that over the next 15 games, look, how many games are there? 38. So I think for Arsenal to win this league, they're going to need 100 points, basically. And if they can, and I would put it out there, Arsenal need 100 points to win this title, because the thing about Man City is, and the thing about Pep Guardiola is, I wouldn't put it past them to go and win every single game from now till May, because they can do it. They can get in that groove. And they can do it. They're going for 3 Premier League titles in a row, aren't they? So they're going to try and equal the Man United record of 3 in a row. And it's Erling Haaland's first season. He didn't go to the World Cup. De Bruyne had a bad World Cup. They just look so good. And I'd fear about the quadruple for Man City, by the way. I really would. But that's not what we're here to talk about. We're here to talk about the Premier League. And I think Arsenal have done fantastically well. I thought they were brilliant the other night against West Ham. And I expect them to finish in the top 2, but I cannot look past Manchester City. I think the fact that this Arsenal team, have they got the depth? Have they got the experience? When they have to start playing Thursday, Sunday, that's a big decision for Arsenal as well. The Europa League, Thursday, Sunday, you can't be in a title race and be playing latter stages of the Europa League. Do you make that choice? Do you prioritise one over the other? I think you have to. I think if you're ahead of Man City going into March, you've got to prioritise a Premier League title, haven't you? But have they been in that position before? I've seen many a Premier League title race, so will Arsenal fans of a certain age. And what happens in March and April is you go away to Fulham, where you'd expect to win, and the pressure, and it smothers you, and you end up drawing 1-1. So Arsenal have got all that to come. 5 points. If they were 5 points ahead in May, with 4 games to go, I'd still expect Man City to do it. We're right at the end of December, so I still think it's, how do Arsenal stop Man City? Because one thing's for sure, Man City will not collapse, Man City will not panic, and Man City will be somewhere around 100 points this year. So that's how Arsenal do it. They've got to get 100 points, and if they don't, and I don't think they will, I don't think they can win it. They're going to be comfortably in the top 4, but I don't know how they do it. So I'm interested to see how your comments come in. I just don't think Arsenal are going to get that fortunate that Man City are going to have a season where they're chasing somebody down and they suddenly can't do it. Speak to Liverpool. They've had this twice with Man City where they suddenly seem to be able to win 15 games in a row. So I still put Man City very firm favourites. I think in the race for top 4, you've got to give a massive shout out to Newcastle. Brilliant before the World Cup. They have a game against Leicester away on Boxing Day, and you think, that could be very interesting. And they just pick up from where they were. They pick up from where they were. Absolutely fantastic performance. And, you don't feel like Newcastle are going to drop off either. And I think at this moment in time, it's very difficult to not put Newcastle in the top 4. I actually think if I was United or Liverpool or Chelsea or even Spurs, who are trying to, hunt Newcastle down, I'd want to play them now. I'd want to play them and burst their bubble, because at the moment, they just seem to be growing in confidence. And I was looking at Newcastle's next few fixtures, actually. And so they've got Leeds at home on New Year's Eve, which I'd expect them to win. Then they've got Arsenal on the 3rd of January, which I think will be a massive game. And that could be the game that pops their bubble a little bit. But then they follow that up with Fulham at home and Crystal Palace away, where you'd expect them to bounce back. So I don't think Newcastle's bubble is just going to burst. I think there will be some losses in there, but actually, in the Premier League, you can lose a game as long as you go and win your next two. That's how you counter it. Just don't draw. And at the moment, Newcastle aren't doing that. So at the moment, Newcastle are looking very, very good. And of course, we just don't know what Newcastle are going to do in the January transfer window. Spurs, I think, are the weakest in the top four. I think they're the most vulnerable. We don't know what they're going to do in the January transfer window. And of course, they had the bad result of drawing with Brentford. I thought they'd go on and win from 2-0 down. But Spurs, I just think, I can't see Spurs in the top four. I can see Newcastle in the top four. I can't see Spurs in the top four because I think Liverpool will be there. That was a fantastic result against Villa. They look focused. They look like they're past their pre-World Cup issues. They brought Gakpo in. I think they'll probably try and bring somebody else in. They look focused. They look more like the Liverpool of last year and last season. And I can't see Liverpool not getting top four. United, look, I'd love to put United in there, and I think we'd have a great chance at top four if we were actually going to invest in the team in January. It doesn't look like we will, so I think that puts us at a disadvantage. And then you've got Chelsea and Brighton, who can you rule Brighton out? Brighton play Arsenal at home on Saturday on New Year's Eve. That will be a very interesting game of football. If Brighton win that, which they're capable of, it really does cause a massive. I mean, we can't rule Brighton out of a top four race at the moment because they're playing so well. Logically, they will not be in the top four, but at the moment, it's great for them and great for the league. And then Chelsea, well, Chelsea are going to have to spend some money, but I worry about Chelsea. I don't think Chelsea will get top four. I think if they do get top four, that's a very, very, very good season for Potter, because people forget about Potter. He didn't get the summer transfer window. He came in after the summer transfer window when Tuchel was sacked, so he's basically inherited a team that he didn't build. Klopp, that's his team. Arteta, that's his team. Obviously, Pep, it's his team. Ten Hag had a summer transfer window. Eddie Howe had a summer transfer window. So I know it's quite popularist to have a pop at Chelsea, but I am quite sympathetic to Potter's situation because he's the only manager, like the Brighton manager really, because he replaced Potter, who's come in and had to take over another manager's summer. So Potter's not had a chance to build his team yet. He's working with Tuchel's players. If they can get a couple of players in that he wants in January, that's a help. But I think he's coming, Chelsea are in 8th anyway, and he's coming from a position of more work needs to be done. So I don't fancy Chelsea getting into the top four. I think it's a big ask because it's very competitive. Arsenal and Man City will definitely be top four. I think Liverpool you've got to put in, and that leaves one spot for Newcastle, Spurs, Manchester United, and Chelsea. And I think it might be just too much for Chelsea this year. I think it's going to be a transition year for them, if I'm absolutely honest. Relegation, don't even get me started on that. Southampton are bottom at the moment. Forest lost again. Wolves won, but they're still in the bottom three. And then Everton, West Ham and Leeds. I think Bournemouth will go down. I think they'll get sucked into it. I don't really think Bournemouth will keep defying the odds. I think they'll get pulled in, but I've got no idea who else is going to go down. I think Wolves United on Saturday will be very interesting, Saturday lunchtime actually. But the race for top six is compelling. I fancy Man City for the title for the reasons I've said, and I think the race for top six will come down to what I've said in the bottom left-hand corner, who wins the January transfer window. If you can bring in two really good players and you're Newcastle or Liverpool or Manchester United or Chelsea or Spurs, then I think you will have a massive chance of getting top four. We saw it with Spurs last year. Kulusevski and Bentancur made the difference. So whoever gets the better January transfer window in that top four race will get in the top four for me. And Liverpool have already done half of that anyway with Gakpo. So yeah, I fancy Liverpool, Man City and Newcastle and Arsenal for top four. The fourth spot is still up for grabs as far as I'm concerned. Anyway, get your comments in below. That's our sort of Premier League review as we head into the next week. And what are your thoughts on that? Man City, can they be stopped? Can Arsenal do it? And the race for top four. Get your comments in below. Thanks everyone for watching. Make sure you subscribe. I'll speak to you on the next one.